Dean Martin was walking out of the Copacabana nightclub in New York City on a rainy October night in 1957, signing autographs for fans waiting under umbrellas, when someone screamed. Not a fan scream, a terror scream. Dean looked up. Across the street, 5 stories up on the ledge of an old apartment building, a cat, orange tabby, trapped, soaking wet, clinging to a narrow stone ledge barely 6 inches wide, and the cat was slipping. Dean watched as the cat's back legs slid off the ledge. It caught itself with its front claws, hanging, terrified. The crowd on the street was growing, people pointing, gasping. Someone yelled, "Call the fire department!" But Dean could see the truth. The cat didn't have time for the fire department. It was going to fall. And Dean Martin, who was afraid of heights, who got dizzy standing on a stool, made a decision that would haunt the 100 people watching for the rest of their lives. He ran toward the building. What he did in the next 8 minutes wasn't just brave, it was insane. And it proved that sometimes courage isn't the absence of fear. It's doing what's right even when you're terrified. It was October 12, 1957, Manhattan, New York. Dean Martin was in town for performances at the Copa, big shows, sold out. The Rat Pack era was just beginning. Dean, Frank, Sammy, they were becoming legends. Dean had just finished his second show of the night, 1 a.m. He was exhausted, good exhausted, the kind that comes from a great performance. He was heading back to his hotel, the Waldorf. Nice walk, cool October air, light rain. Perfect. There was a crowd outside the Copa. Always was. Fans waiting for autographs, photos, a chance to see Dean Martin up close. Dean never minded. He liked his fans, appreciated them. He stopped, started signing, making small talk. "Thanks for coming to the show. Glad you enjoyed it. Sure, let's get a picture." The usual routine. He'd done it 1,000 times. That's when the scream cut through the night. High-pitched, desperate. "Oh my God, someone help!" Dean looked up. Across the street, an apartment building, old, pre-war, 5 stories, stone facade. And on a ledge on the 5th floor, barely visible in the streetlight and rain, a cat, small, orange. The cat was on the outer ledge of a window. Looked like it had climbed out and couldn't get back. The window was closed now. Maybe the wind. Maybe someone inside didn't realize. But the cat was trapped. More people were noticing. The crowd from outside the Copa crossing the street, looking up, pointing. The cat was clearly in distress, meowing, loud, desperate, trying to find footing. But the ledge was narrow, maybe 6 inches, wet from rain, slippery. As Dean watched, the cat's back legs slipped, slid off the ledge. The cat hung there, front claws dug into the stone, back legs dangling in air, 5 stories above the concrete sidewalk. A woman next to Dean gasped, "Oh no, it's going to fall!" A man yelled up, "Hang on, kitty!" Like the cat could understand. Someone else shouted, "Someone call the fire department!" Another voice, "Call animal control!" People pulling out their wallets, looking for coins for the payphone. This was 1957, no cell phones, no quick help. Dean was watching the cat. He could see it struggling, claws scraping on wet stone, trying to pull itself back up, failing. The cat was exhausted, scared. It was going to fall. And even if someone called the fire department right now, they'd take 10, 15 minutes to arrive, set up. The cat didn't have 15 minutes, maybe not even 5. Dean looked around. The building had a main entrance, old door. He ran to it, tried the handle, locked. He pounded on the door. "Open up! There's a cat stuck on your ledge." No answer. It was 1 a.m. People were sleeping. He pounded harder, still nothing. He looked back at the cat. It was still hanging, starting to slip more, one claw losing grip. Dean ran back to the street, looked up at the building, looking for options. There was a fire escape, old, metal, on the side of the building. It started at the 2nd floor. Dean ran to it, The ladder was up. Retracted. He jumped. Couldn't reach it. Jumped again. Still couldn't reach. A man from the crowd ran over. "I'll boost you." Without asking permission, the man interlaced his fingers, made a step. Dean put his foot in. The man lifted. Dean grabbed the bottom rung of the fire escape ladder, pulled himself up. His hands were wet from rain. Slipped slightly, caught himself, got his feet on the ladder, started climbing. This is when Dean's fear of heights kicked in. He'd always been afraid of heights, ever since he was a kid. Couldn't even look out a high window without feeling dizzy. But he kept climbing. Second floor, third floor. The fire escape was old, rusty, made groaning sounds under his weight. Rain made every step slippery. Dean didn't look down, just kept climbing. Fourth floor, fifth floor. The cat was on the other side of the building. Dean would have to walk along the ledge to reach it. Dean reached the fifth floor fire escape platform, looked out. The ledge was about 10 feet away, across open air. There was no safe way to reach it, except Dean looked at the fire escape railing. It extended along the building. If he climbed over the railing, stood on the outer edge of the fire escape platform, held onto the building, he could sidestep along the narrow ledge toward where the cat was. Dean looked down. Big mistake. 5 stories straight down to concrete. His head swam. His stomach lurched. He closed his eyes, took a breath, looked back at where the cat was. He could hear it, desperate meowing. The cat was still hanging, still fighting, but weakening. Dean made his choice. He climbed over the fire escape railing. The crowd below had figured out what was happening. Someone was on the fire escape, going after the cat. A murmur went through the crowd. Then someone recognized him. "That's Dean Martin." The murmur became gasps. "Dean Martin is climbing to save the cat." The crowd grew, 50 people, then 100, all looking up, watching in silence. Dean was on the outer edge of the fire escape now, his feet on a tiny ledge barely 3 inches deep. Wet stone, slippery. His dress shoes, expensive Italian leather, completely wrong for this. No traction. Every step felt like skating on ice. His hands gripping the rough facade of the building, fingers finding small holds, cracks in the stone where mortar had crumbled, window ledges that jutted out maybe an inch. Anything. He started moving sideways, inches at a time. His body pressed flat against the building, rain soaking through his expensive suit, the fabric heavy now, cold, making everything slick. His heart was pounding so hard he could hear it, feel it in his throat. Every instinct in his body screaming at him to stop. "Go back! This is insane! You're going to die!" But the cat was 15 feet away, still hanging by those front claws, still meowing, that desperate sound cutting through the rain and the fear. Dean kept moving. 1 foot, slide 6 inches. Other foot, slide to meet it. Hands searching desperately for the next hold. His fingers were already cramping from gripping so hard. His dress shoes weren't made for this. Leather soles, slick, no grip whatsoever. He could feel them sliding with every tiny movement. Dean kept moving. 1 foot, slide. Other foot, slide. Hands searching for holds. His dress shoes weren't made for this. Leather soles, no grip. He slipped once. His foot lost contact with the ledge. He was held by his hands only, pressed against the wall. The crowd below gasped. Someone screamed. Dean found the ledge again with his foot, steadied himself, kept moving. 10 feet from the cat. The meowing was louder now, more desperate. Dean could see the cat clearly. Orange tabby, young, maybe a year old. Its front claws were dug into the stone, back legs dangling. The cat saw Dean, made eye contact. Dean could swear he saw hope in those eyes. "Hang on, buddy," Dean said quietly. "I'm coming." 5 feet away, Dean's legs were shaking, from fear, from effort, from the awkward position. His hands were cramping from gripping so hard. Rain was running down his face. He couldn't wipe it away, couldn't let go. 3 feet, 2 feet. Dean reached out his right hand toward the cat. He'd have to grab it, pull it close, hold it with one hand while climbing back with the other. He stretched, couldn't quite reach, had to move closer. One more sidestep. His foot slipped. For a horrible second, Dean was falling. His hands held. Barely. His body swung out from the building. His feet found the ledge again. The crowd below was silent, frozen, watching. Dean steadied himself, reached out. This time he could touch the cat. "Come on, kitty, let me help you." The cat was terrified, hissing, claws out. Dean didn't care. He grabbed the cat around the middle, pulled it close to his chest. The cat struggled, clawed at his hand, drew blood. Dean held tight, tucked the cat inside his jacket, zipped it partway. The cat was screaming, fighting, but secure. Dean now had to make the journey back with only one hand free, the other holding the cat through his jacket. The trip back was infinitely worse, moving sideways along that ledge, one hand on the wall, searching desperately for holds, other hand pressed against his chest, supporting the struggling cat through his jacket. The cat was panicking, clawing, fighting. Dean could feel claws through his shirt, feel warm blood. Didn't matter. Had to hold on, had to keep the cat secure. His feet kept slipping, the leather soles finding no purchase on wet stone. Twice he almost fell. Once his right foot slipped completely off the ledge. He was balanced on one foot, one hand, the cat thrashing. For a horrible, stretched out second, he was falling. His left hand caught a window ledge. Fingers dug in, found purchase, held. His right foot found the ledge again. He pressed himself against the wall, breathing hard, rain in his face. Each time he caught himself somehow, muscle memory, luck, prayer, all three. The crowd below was completely silent now, not even whispers. 100 people holding their collective breath, watching Dean Martin edge along a 5th-story ledge in the pouring rain, holding a terrified cat. Some people had their hands over their mouths, some were crying, all were frozen, unable to look away. After what felt like an hour, but was probably 5 minutes, Dean reached the fire escape. He climbed back over the railing, onto the platform. His legs gave out. He sat down hard, still holding the cat. He unzipped his jacket. The cat jumped out, ran down the fire escape, disappeared. Dean sat there, shaking, soaking wet, hands bleeding, trying to catch his breath. He looked down at the crowd. They were staring up at him, silent. Then one person started clapping, then another, then everyone. Applause, cheers. Dean waved weakly, started climbing down the fire escape. His legs barely worked. When he reached the bottom, the crowd surrounded him, patting his back, shaking his hand, calling him a hero. Someone gave him a towel. Someone else got him coffee from an all-night diner. A cop showed up. "Mr. Martin, what you did was incredibly brave. Also incredibly stupid. You could have died." Dean was still shaking. "I know, I'm terrified of heights. I got about halfway there and realized how insane this was. But the cat..." The cop nodded. "The cat's fine. Ran into the alley, probably home by now. But you shouldn't have risked your life." Dean smiled weakly. "Yeah, I know, but I couldn't just watch it fall." The next day the story was in the papers. Dean Martin saves cat from 5th-story ledge. Photos of Dean soaking wet at the bottom of the fire escape. The story spread. By the end of the week, it was national news. Dean downplayed it, told reporters it wasn't that big a deal, just did what anyone would do. But everyone who'd been there knew the truth. It was a big deal. It was insane, brave, terrifying, and beautiful. Stories like this one deserve to be remembered. The moments when legends did things that defied logic. The courage shown despite fear. If you want to hear more stories about the people who shaped an era, the humanity shown in impossible moments, and the grace that made them immortal, this channel tells those stories. Because these aren't just tales about famous people. They're lessons about what we're capable of when something needs us. Years later, in 1985, Dean was asked about it in an interview. "Why did you risk your life for a cat?" Dean thought for a moment. "Because that cat was scared and alone and was going to die if someone didn't help. And I was there. I could help. Was it smart? No. Would I do it again? Probably. Because some things you don't think about, you just do. That cat needed someone, and I was that someone. That's all." The building superintendent found out later that the cat belonged to an elderly woman on the 4th floor. The cat had climbed out when she'd opened a window for air. The window had closed behind it. The woman had been asleep, had no idea her cat was outside. When she found out what happened, she came to Dean's show at the Copa, brought the cat, waited at the stage door. When Dean came out, she thanked him through tears. "You saved my Whiskers. He's all I have." Dean petted the cat. The cat purred, rubbed against his hand. No sign of the terrified creature from the ledge. "Glad I could help, ma'am. Take care of Whiskers." That's the Dean Martin story that should be told. Not just the songs, not just the cool persona, but the man who climbed a 5th-story fire escape in the rain and edged along a 6-inch ledge to save a cat, who did it despite being terrified of heights, who risked his life for something small and scared because it was the right thing to do. Dean Martin stood on that ledge with rain pouring down and 100 people watching in frozen silence, and he saved a life. Not a person's life, a cat's life, but a life that mattered to someone, and that was enough. The crowd froze in silence because they were watching something rare. Not a performance, not a show, but raw, terrifying, beautiful humanity. Dean Martin risking everything because something needed help and he could provide it. That's not just courage, that's character, and that's why we remember his name.